Hello, Explore Mindset family. Welcome to the Explore Mindset YouTube channel. The State of Israel is the nuisance in the Arab side moment. It's a place of conflict between Arab and Jew. Imagine waking up to a world where the sound of children playing is replaced by the roar of rockets. This is the reality of numerous in Israel and Palestine. Overnight, an unlooked-for invasion passed. Hamas fighters stormed Israeli municipalities, launching thousands of rockets. The result, hundreds dead on both sides. But what exactly happened and how did we get to this point? The conflict between Israel and Palestine is over a century old, embedded in territorial and religious controversies. To understand the complications of this conflict, we first need to delve into some crucial players and regions involved. Enter Hamas. Hamas, which principally means zeal in Arabic, is a Palestinian political and militant group. It was innovated by Sheikh Ahmed Yassin to fight and break away from Israel. They first came into elevation in 1987 when Palestine revolted against the State of Israel. This group sees themselves as protectors of Palestinian rights against Israeli occupation. Now, according to a videotape by Wall Street Journal, the attack on Israel began when the same Hamas zealots launched multiple rockets on Israel. These zealots sneaked into Israel near the Kamim Shalom crossing, an important checkpoint between Israel and Gaza. They broke the border hedge and attacked the Israeli military grounded there. By late morning, these zealots began destroying sections of the border walls, allowing further of them to insinuate. By 7:30 a.m., the Hamas zealots were spotted in Israeli municipalities and metropolises. Multiple Israeli civilians were taken as life hostages, and numerous others were killed. As of the moment, 2,300 people have been injured and more than 700 people have lost their lives. This is what is happening, and it's absolutely heart-wrenching. To explain the whole conflict, I want to take you back in time to understand the roots of this conflict. Let's go back to the early 20th century. This is when Palestine was ruled by the Ottoman Empire. At that time, seeing the rising anti-Semitism in Europe, a small number of Jewish people started settling in this Ottoman Empire. Also, during World War I, entered everyone's favorite conglomerate, the British Empire. Now, these British wanted to master the Ottoman Empire, so to gather support, they made a deal with both the Arabs and Jews in this region. To help, this was the veritably morning of the Palestinian conflict that we see moment C. These Britishers knew what both parties wanted, so they promised the Arabs independence and the Jewish people a separate country. Because there was a rising belief among Jews that they should have their separate land in Palestine, and this movement was called Zionism. So after the British overthrew the Ottoman Empire, in order to fulfill their deal, they decided to carve out some land in Palestine and give it to the Jews, who were a growing population as more Jews had fled Europe during and after World War II. Now, this did not go down veritably well with the Arabs, and they defied this. This turned effects extremely violent. The British were unfit to control the violence, and in 1947, after 30 times of controlling Palestine, they washed their hands of the country and handed it to the United Nations to control the situation. The United Nations proposed partition of the land and assigned over 55% of the land to Jews, which infuriated the Arabs. Indeed, more, the situation escalated, and eventually violence broke out between the two sets of people again. And this was the veritably first Arab-Israeli War of 1948. So what was the result of this war? The Jews, or the Palestinian Jews who declared themselves as the State of Israel, controlled not only the area proposed by the United Nations but also gained nearly 60% of the area proposed for the Arab state. Several butcheries by the Israeli forces took place in 1948, which forced 250,000 Arabs to leave the country. Now, Israel had captured most of the land, except Gaza, which came under Egypt's control, and the West Bank, which came under Jordan's control. Since then, there were further attempts to partition the land, but nothing concrete materialized except further violence. Until 1967, after a 6-day war, Israel eventually captured the West Bank, Gaza, and Sinai Peninsula from Egypt. But they returned it back in 1978 under a peace convention brokered by the U.S. called the Camp David Accord. Nearly 10 times had passed after the peace convention in 1987 when violent kick broke out again, with Palestinian Arabs revolting against Israel's military occupation of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. This was known as Intifada, a turning point in the story between Israel and Palestine because it led to the confirmation of the revolutionary militant group which we spoke about before, Hamas, which is presently attacking Israel. In the 2000s, the alternate Intifada acclimated, which pushed Israel to leave Gaza. By 2007, Hamas had captured Gaza after the fight with another revolutionary group, the Fate, which went on to control the West Bank. Which brings us to the moment, what touched off Hamas to foray Israel, and where did effects go horribly wrong? It's too early to give fixed reasons, but this is what has been reported as of the moment. Israel established a leaguer in Gaza after Hamas captured it, and according to the human rights group, it's described as an open-air captivity which has left 45% of the population there jobless. The condition is analogous in the West Bank, where Israel has established a separation wall, cutting off thousands of Palestinians from social services, seminaries, and spreads. Now, over the last many times, pressures between the Israeli settlers in these areas and the Palestinians have been growing, and this pressure erupted after the Al-Aqsa synagogue incident lately. So Al-Aqsa synagogue is considered the holiest place in both Judaism and Islam. According to Seattle Times, in the once many times, Jews were averted from soliciting inside the emulsion to avoid any violent kick from the Palestinians. But last week, according to The Guardian, the Palestinian Jews prayed inside the synagogue emulsion, which touched off the Palestinian Arabs. Now, the exact provocation behind this attack isn't clear, but according to Hamas prophet Khaled Kumi, this came the detector point and led them to launch a coordinated attack on Israel. Now, while they are claiming this as a reason to cover their holy shrine, several innocent civilians are getting severely killed both in Palestine and in Israel. During war, it's veritably easy to point numbers to mark one side as right and the other as wrong. But the stark reality is there are no true winners in wars. Humanity deteriorates, children lose their lives, and entire nations bear the scars of conflict. Online, on Twitter, you will see people venting their support for Palestine, while others taunt support Israel. But what they are basically forgetting is that millions are suffering. Our heart goes out to everybody going through this conflict. Our job is to come then and educate you all on the counter-accusations and horrors of what is happening, so you can be smart and make your own opinions. Wars are extremely complex in nature, but we've tried to explain. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss upcoming interesting videos.